Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen with the Tough Eggs. There isn't a lot to do currently within Star Citizen besides the usual day-to-day grind, as we're all eagerly awaiting the release of patch 3.14. This patch is bringing an additional landing zone, improved cloud tech, capacitor gameplay that is certainly going to alter the combat performance of many ships in the game, and most importantly, it's bringing the Connie Taurus, a ship I have been waiting far too long to get my hands on. As we wait, a few viewers have suggested I give a certain weapon a try, which is exactly what I'm reviewing today. The weapon in question is the C-788 size 4 ballistic autocannon. There aren't really many of these ballistic autocannons in the game currently. I believe this size 4 variant is the only one of the C-788. It combines both direct kinetic impact damage with a HE shell that can damage multiple shield facings similar to a missile. In essence, I've basically slapped two tank cannons to my Talon. The damage can be a bit janky, especially with the prevalence of desync, but I'm lucky enough to be running a fresh server currently, so let's give it a whirl. Ballistic weapons, unlike energy weapons, deal damage through the combatant shields. So if you're running a big enough gun, odds are you'll be able to take out an enemy vessel in a single shot. The splash damage also means you'll be doing large amounts of module damage even before the enemy shields have been taken down, so you'll often find vessels losing wings or weapon hardpoints to your fire. One thing to also note is that ballistic weapons do have a limited ammo capacity. Each cannon holds 480 rounds, with a default fire rate of 53 rounds a minute. That's around 9 minutes of continuous fire time, though this will decrease when overclocked as the rounds per minute of the gun increases by a factor of 1.5. Here I've closed the distance to the target. You can see the explosions at the point of impact really putting the hurt on this little vanguard. Ships with larger shields are a bit tankier, so your Valkyries, Freelancers, Constellations, etc. can take a bit more of a beating just because of that bigger shield hit point pool. But at the same time, the larger size makes them equally easier to hit compared to their light fighters. As rounds are limited, you'll want to make sure you connect the shots as frequently as possible. Against smaller targets, it really doesn't take that many hits to completely destroy them. It's ironic because I mentioned making sure you hit shots, but I'm equally terrible at aiming, especially with a joystick that I'm still getting used to. But when you do eventually land the rounds and they do start connecting, smaller ships really don't hold up to much. I am very much a fan of the traditional laser repeaters. They offer best-in-class DPS and are quite forgiving. You can watch the spread of the rounds to narrow in on a target, and the high DPS means you're not really punished when few rounds miss the target. Though, running ballistic cannons is incredibly satisfying. Seeing the trail of explosions and debris leaving enemy ships as you literally pummel them to death is incredible. Which is one of the reasons why I can't wait to try the Ares Inferno towards the end of this year with its single size 7 ballistic Gatling gun. I can just imagine this poor Freelancer crew being flown around from the impact and forces of the shells hitting the ship, especially when that force reaction technology gets brought into place. I can imagine players being flung around the interior of vessels. Now, the C-788s are a size 4 weapon, so any ship with size 4 hardpoints can happily mount them. I'd recommend running a fixed loadout as opposed to a gimbaled one, as gimbaled aiming kind of relies on the server being up to speed, and if there's a bit of desync going on, the tracking can be a bit dodgy, as you'll see later on in the video when I'm running them on a certain ship. However, running them fixed really is quite enjoyable. You're basically a direct fire artillery piece, taking out ships at point blank range with pretty big guns, which never really gets boring. There are 4 main locations currently in the game where you can pick up the C-788. The first area being Center Mass in Area 18. Secondly, we have the ship's weapon shops in both Her Al-3 and Crew Al-5. And lastly is Center Mass on New Babbage. I tend to go to New Babbage when I'm picking up new weapons or new ship modules, as New Babbage has Omega Pro and Center Mass, which makes it kind of an all-in-one place to pick up ship modules, which is pretty useful when you're travelling the verse. So we've seen what 2 C-788s can do when equipped on a Talon. Let's go and see what 4 of them can do when slapped onto a Constellation and really put the gun in the gunship for it. And to further explain this, I'm going to hand off to my old favourite character, Sergeant Major Avery Johnson.
Usually the good Lord works in mysterious ways, but not today. This here is 66 tons of straight-up, HE-spewing divine intervention. If God is love, then you can call me Cupid.
So I've gone all out and done the dirty to a Constellation, adding 4 of these ballistic cannons, along with the pretty impressive missile loadout on the Constellation. It really turns it into a gunboat, which is what it should be. The 4 cannons, if they all hit at the same time, can pretty comfortably destroy smaller ships in one go, which is kind of brutal, to be honest. Though the Constellation does sort of struggle when coming up against the heavier targets, you can do forward passes and completely annihilate Valkyries and Cutlass Blacks. However, as soon as those ships start manoeuvring outside of the gun arc of one side of your ship, only a few of the guns are connecting at once, so you kind of half your DPM. So really, you want to keep your nose pointed at the target at all times and kind of hope for the best. Though you can be confident in the fact that if you are outmaneuvered by a smaller ship, if you get the slightest of opportunities to connect all 4 rounds at the same time, you're pretty much going to take care of any ship that's flanking you. So there we have it, a quick review of the C-788 ballistic cannon, and to be quite frank, it's a pretty great gun. If you're looking for something a little different than the usual laser repeaters or laser cannons, definitely give these a go. It is really fun to use, especially if you get that chance to completely annihilate a ship in a single pass. The video is going to be shorter than usual. Again, I'm just waiting for some new content drops to come out of Star Citizen. I do have a Freelancer Max versus Constellation Towers video in the works. And let's just compare how the new Connie compares to the medium haulage King, currently the Freelancer Max. I really do love that ship, so if it gets dethroned, I'm going to be quite, upset, to be honest with you. Anyway, I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, as it does help the channel out. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.